Welcome to the Hold to Talk podcast with your host, Juliet.
And Abby. And today we are talking about how moving abroad changed our marriages. And it's one that I'm a little bit more nervous about than the other ones, just because it is super vulnerable, super personal. So I don't know if you feel the same, Julia. I'd imagine you probably did.
Yeah.
But we'll go deep and we'll be dead honest. I think and we'll be authentic like we always have been and just see what nonsense spills out of our mouths. And what we're really excited about is in a few more episodes, we are going to have the husbands on. And I guess some of the questions and things we'll talk about here, we can also ask them and then see what their responses are and if the feelings were the same and if we were right in some of the things that we'd said about our opinions about how they were feeling, etc., etc. So that could be really cool and interesting. I've had a week. Can I just talk about that, please? First week, my children are not in club. It's summer holidays. We're talking an 8-week stretch. So fine. I've also been working and I had like an hour lunch break I gave myself. I work as a freelancer remote, which is great because it helps so I can be around for the kids. But needless to say, my twins came in and were like, Mommy, can you play football with us on the grass? For once, I said, you know what? Yeah, why would I say no to that? I always say no. I trot out on the grass. I have a video of it. And I'm literally like giving the dog a bit of water, step down and just like an old lady, tumble and roll. My whole ankle goes over at a 90-degree angle, which Juliet full well knows. Before I visited her, I also tumbled. I ended up getting a wheelchair through Boston Airport all the way to Boston. And I now have a swollen ankle. 2 days before that, I dislocated my toe at the water park on my twin's birthday, the same foot. And then today we went out for dinner and a bird pooed on that foot. So that's a week, really.
But that's a week of normality in your life. Like that isn't abnormal.
Yeah, I guess.
So just so you know, like that's not just like a one-off. It's very like that's why I'm not reacting.
All of our family have arrived in Portugal this week. You couldn't write it that now I can't do anything. I can't walk on my right foot. And I was going to host a organised fun volleyball session on the beach.
Yeah, you would have broken it then anyway. So
do you know what? Maybe this has helped me out.
Yeah, I think you should really be sitting out on competitive sports for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I love competitive sports. I know you don't give a shit whether you win, lose. You don't care. But you do care about gym stuff. 100%. I mean, I've seen it. Like if we're squatting or when I came to Boston and we were working out together, I was like, she wants this. Whatever it is, she wants the medal at the end. Maybe she wants to do that extra squat just to get it in.
The difference is it's me versus me. I'm not actually that competitive against others. I'm like competitive against myself.
Yeah. That's why are you on the High Rocks right now?
Yeah.
Mike's obsessed with the High Rocks. My husband's obsessed with the High Rocks. He's just booked to go to Hamburg in October. Let's get right in. Obviously, some of these things I do know. I was in fielding. But let's just go straight to Juliet. Ask her outright. Do you even want to be with him? Is he the one? So you got married just before you came over.
Ollie, you can't flush the chain when we're on the podcast.
I know you're not saying anything interesting.
We're putting it in.
It's 100% going in.
100%. That's diabolical. We had been engaged for 2 years prior to us getting married.
And prior to that, you'd been together how long?
We'd been together 9 years. I do make a joke I love to make a joke that I married him for a visa. I do it to everyone. It makes them really uncomfortable. Yeah, I say it to Americans, like if I say it to my friends or people that we meet, I'm like, yeah, I just married him for the visa. And they look at me like, get out of our country. And I'm like, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I did marry him. Technically, I did marry him not for the visa, but because we couldn't actually submit our visa with me not being married to him, it would just have been much harder.
You actually couldn't. Oh yeah, it was harder, but it wasn't that you couldn't do it. So.
They strongly advised we got married. Really, there wasn't a choice, to be honest.
Okay. And then you came and Ollie was then office based for how many days of the week?
So essentially back home in England, we were both working from home because post-COVID, before COVID, we were both working in an office 5 days a week. Then COVID happened and we both started working from home. And then I never went back in because I got a different job. And Ollie's work, I think it was like a 1 day a week in requirement. So we spent basically every single day working at home together and we got very comfortable with that routine. And
you
we really
not mad at it at all, was she?
I'm absolutely fine with that. And then obviously when we got the offer to move here, it was very much the requirement was 4 days minimum a week. He has to be in the office and we have 2 dogs and we'd never left the dogs at home on their own when we go to work because we'd always had them working from home with them. That whole dynamic changed because then there was a lot of pressure on me. I think that's like where I'll start, because that's kind of the first initial tension that we had in our relationship. Because when we came over, Ollie's expectation was 4 days a week and we came over with his job. I needed to get a job, but I had to work around the dogs and work around his schedule basically for my role. So it limited me to a job that means I'm either remote, where I would never be able to meet anyone and have any social interaction, or I can only go into an office 1 day a week, which no one has that requirement. So that was really difficult because I was like, well, I just feel like I'm a dog sitter. At the beginning, I literally would say to Ollie, like, I feel like I'm the dog sitter. You get to go out to work and have this like great like work social life, and you're meeting people, and he'll come home and he's like loving life, and I'm waiting for him to come home so I can have some social interaction. I'm putting a lot of pressure on him to give me that. And then, also looking after the dogs every single day, which I don't mind. They're my dogs. I'm not a dog sitter. But at the time, it just felt like I don't really have the option. I feel a bit trapped here. That was when it was like, well, most jobs have a 3-day in like per week requirement minimum. I can't take that job. I can't take that job because we'd have to either get dog care, which would cost a fortune, which puts another strain. And Ollie didn't really have much flexibility. We've managed to make it work. Actually, it works really well now that my job is a 2-day in a week, and Ollie's being able to push it so he's flexible to work from home a bit more.
Between you two was obviously you guys had a structured lifestyle that you'd got used to in the flow of for a good few years. And then you came here, not only was you in a new country, but you were also then having to figure out and balance how you make your new routines work with new jobs, with new requirements from that job and expectations. And then also you have the dogs, which is an extra responsibility that you have to take care of.
So basically, yes, you're right. He had this expectation of work. The actual difference is we came here and we lived in the city, and everyone that he works with, he really gets along with, but they all live way out in the suburbs. So in terms of like actually having a social life after work and stuff, people don't want to hang around. They want to go home. There's a lot of traffic and, to try and get home. So I think that was an element of it. And I was doing a lot of work to try and make friends outside of my home life because I was constantly sitting at home working from home. So then I was generating these friends going out in the evening. Ollie was out in the day and we weren't seeing each other as much. We're both never jealous of each other. Like, we're both happy for each other. But I think there was also like, there's an issue here where
in tune, I guess, with what each
not
other.
as in tune as we were at home. No. And yeah, you're right. He had like this really, really like strong, large group of guys that he's been friends with from school. And I think he was just kind of like feeling like he didn't have anyone to hang around with that were just guy mates. He would just hang around with my friends' partners that aren't really like, at the time, they weren't really his friends.
So would you say that the move brought you both closer or created more friction?
Well, I think what I just spoke about is just like one tiny element of like loads of different things that have changed in our relationship. That's just only one tiny thing. So jumping to this question is subjective to other stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'll speak from my experience. I would say that we have got a lot closer and we're a lot more of a unit as a family of 5 and as a couple. And I feel like I think moving and going through such a unique experience together, like you really lean on each other. Whereas maybe in England, I'd have lent more on my family or my friends there. I have changed since moving. I would be probably more reliant on other people than him, whereas it then completely switched for me. And he was then like my safety net, which I always have felt like I need that support system socially, but also like emotionally and stuff like that as well. But I think with that comes friction because the pressure's then on. He is, it certainly was at the very beginning, everything. My friend, my husband, my co-parent, like everything then relied on him. Whereas before I could get some of my needs met elsewhere with my friends and family and stuff.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I actually think, interestingly, our relationship was very much more insular at home. Like, it was always just me and Ollie, like always spending all of our time together. We've actually got a healthier separation. Not separation, that's just like a strong word. I actually feel like
Your own individual lives.
Yeah,
you've got.
moving here is like created because we were so like used to like our own pockets of friends, and they would only really be available maybe once every month. Not my friends, but Ollie's friends maybe. They'd only meet up like once a month or something.
Yeah.
And now I think we've actually created a really healthy, we can actually do stuff that's two separate individuals, and then we do stuff together as two people that are joined together. And that's actually been a really good, healthy change that I think I've always seen Ollie as a social person, but I think it's made Ollie see me in a different way, which is healthy. It's good. I think Ollie's just like seen me in a way that's like more sociable, more open to new connections as a whole, just being like more social and like dependent. There's also an element of just like when we moved here again, exactly what you said, where he's my home and he's my person, but I knew that already. So it's not like something new that I realized. I always knew that Ollie was just, we could have moved anywhere. We could have moved anywhere.
Yeah, you two definitely had a different setup than say me and Mike, because I think I was so versus you, you were much more independent as a couple, but also like as a couple, you were much more independent. Now I think you're more independent as a person. If I think about you in England, I felt like he was very much your center. Whereas now I think you've grown up to be a more independent woman in lots of different aspects of your life, which definitely moving abroad has done. But has that done at a cost of your marriage, or do you think it's a positive thing to your marriage?
Think it was a learning curve at first. I will say that. But I do think that it's become a positive for at home in Ollie's job. He was very much stagnant in his role. He was a bit fed up. He'd go in, he'd just be like moping around in his job, not really caring. Now I see a much more driven, he's more attractive to me now. I've got to be completely honest. Like I'm definitely more attracted to his work ethic, seeing him here, striving for more, just being he's in a more senior position, so that's obviously going to be more attractive. But just like his whole manner has changed, and the way he approaches how he's going to make a life for us, and it's more attractive to me. I'm attracted to a driven person. I'm a driven person. Like I was never not going to be with him because of that. But I think I'm definitely more attracted to him now, and I actually think he's more attracted to. I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's more attracted to me here, just because I'm more independent. It's just more
Yeah,
attractive.
it
I'm
is.
more confident. I found myself more here. I'm more sure of myself. That's more attractive.
Yeah. I think I was quite anxious before we left, because the situation that me and Mike were in before we left was he'd just come out of rehab. My other half is a recovering alcoholic. He's 5 years sober now. And he had come out of rehab I guess actually hadn't just come out of rehab. He was a year sober when we decided we were going to leave, because I wouldn't have agreed to do it, I don't think, before a year. When he came out of rehab, he started working for my dad. He changed his career. He started becoming a developer. He was training to do that. Prior to that, he'd been in the army. He'd done lots of different jobs. He's been really, really. When we moved here, I didn't know if that safety net of working for dad and him choosing really wisely then who his friends were and who he surrounded himself with, and not working in London City anymore, because that was a huge problem for him, because of the amount of drugs and alcohol that is just surrounded by working in London, and him getting sort of sucked into that. Then what does it look like when we decide to go and we've got to make friends from scratch? Like, part of me was like, it's a good thing because no one knows. But my other half, and you'll meet him on episode 8, has no shame whatsoever. One of the first things he says to people is, I'm a recovering alcoholic. And he's 37, which is exactly how he should be for someone that, he shouldn't feel shame. That's just part of who he is. But I was anxious about that. And that was something I was aware of, because what happens then if he starts going off kilter when we're here, and I have no safety net that's kind of helped me out with the 3 kids and whatever life is that I have here, was nerve-wracking. I tried to keep putting it to the back of my head and trusting in the process and his recovery, and, like how he was doing things. Everyone kind of follows their own process when they come out of rehab. There's a way to do it, but obviously his was different, and he's done amazing. I'm really lucky, like I said before, to have loads of friends that don't care about alcohol. So I was nervous about that, and I was concerned for our relationship and our family. However, it's actually turned out to be one of the best things we did for his recovery, I think, because he really has now got a life that's driven about health. And like I said, he's now into high rocks, and he loves surfing and being outdoors. Who would you say settled in faster? to the new life that you created for yourself?
Probably me, just based on the connections that I was making. I was purposely putting myself out there. We spoke about this in another episode. I was purposely putting myself on Bumble BFF, trying to find connections so that I didn't feel like I was the only girl in the world. I wouldn't say that Ollie didn't feel in place, and there was no way that he wanted to go home. Like he loved it here from like the minute he got here. But I do think he struggled more than me just finding his feet with like making friends and connections here. He's done that now, so he's absolutely fine. But I'd say it took him a little longer. But in saying that, I think we were both totally on the same page that we were gonna make it work, and we love the city in general. So whatever we have to do to stay in the US, and he was loving his job. I think that was another thing at first. Like he was loving the new responsibilities and the way they saw him over here. They'd made this big like investment in him, bringing him over, and made a big fuss about him joining the team. And so I think that gives you a confidence boost, doesn't it? It makes you think I'm the shit, like I've
Yeah.
invested in me. Coming from a place where he was feeling very lackluster and very kind of undervalued in the UK, in
Yeah.
the same company, but that company believed in him, brought him over here, and he
Amazing.
felt like I'm feeling good in my job, which again, all these things intertwine. Like if he's not happy in his work, if he comes home from a shit day at work, we don't have a good evening. Like it's just the fact of it.
Yeah.
Like he's moody, he's an asshole, he might say something, whereas if he's thriving at work and he feels like people think he's good at what he does, that gives you like that nice confidence boost. Then
It's like
yeah,
a shame, but it's like an external thing. Also, he goes to work every day. He's there more than he's at home sometimes, so it's important. But I also feel like I don't know who I would say. I'd probably say he settled in faster, purely because though he's lived in so many different places, it's quite a natural thing for him to do, to move. And if anything, had more people to move with. Like he's always done it on his own, and then there was me and the boys, so it was like nice for him. I think one of the issues that me and Mike found quite early on was, do we want the same things in terms of where it is that we want to live, what we want in a house and the location of that house, and what we want to do with the kids' schooling? And we come from very different backgrounds. And I think that was quite evident here more than it was in England. I think because I was nervous that I didn't really know or understand the Portuguese education system. I wanted a house that was near enough done, maybe had I wanted it to be somewhere where there was people, and one of the places we lived was a place called Boa Vista. So yeah, and it had like it was like a development. So there was lots of houses. It was really busy. There was tennis courts. There was a gym. It was way overpriced. Mike was right. He was like, but it's so overpriced because of all these things, and you pay maintenance charge, all those things. He wanted land. He wanted loads of land, and he wants to live in the middle of nowhere. So it was a real bone of contention for us, because it was like, but I don't know. And then with the school thing, we're backwards and forwards. I was privileged enough to go to a private school when I was younger. He comes from Copenhagen, and he went to what he would consider a really bad state school. Like I could tell you the good state schools in my area. Like I'd heard of them. I spoke to other parents, I think, moving somewhere and thinking, okay, so what are we going to do with the school?
I was going to say, I think as well, like there's loads of parts of that, because you've also have this like, not guilt, but you know what I mean, of pulling your kids out with. So in the UK, they were privately educated and they were in good schools. You did a privileged thing for them, but like pulling them out and then putting them in a school that's going to like give them something that might make them underachieve. It's quite like, it makes you feel guilty. You're going to take away something that they've been privileged to have, and now you're not going to give them the best opportunities.
Yeah, but I think his argument, and I'm sure he would say it as well, and he's not necessarily wrong, it doesn't mean you are, because there's many people that are in state schools that actually have better achievements than those in private school. Like going to private school does not mean that. We send our children to private school. I won the row, but it's always a thing. Like he's always like, but if we didn't send them, we could afford to do our kitchen. Or if you didn't send them, we could have gone on that holiday, or we could have done, like, the money we're spending on the private school is a sacrifice for us, because it means we can't do other privileged things, frankly. I think coming from completely different backgrounds, move into a country where it's highlighted a bit more, because I'm not 100% comfortable. Schools is a thing for me, because I was picked on at one point at school. So I'm really cautious that I don't want my kids to have any kind of negative experiences at school. They can't protect them from everything. It doesn't mean because they were in a private school that it's going to be better, because it isn't necessarily. Still can be a friction between our relationship.
I think it's an interesting one because it's not something, like you said, it's something that came up new in your relationship when you moved. Whereas in the UK, if you'd carried on, your difference in your backgrounds, yeah, like you'd spoken about it. And there were times where he'd be like, I don't think they need to have this many presents at Christmas. Or there were times those things would come up, but maybe not so much in such a big life decision for your kids, because you wouldn't, you were already living that life and they were already settled in whatever school they were in or whatever. It's interesting how these new things come up and give you a challenge in your relationship.
I mean, there's elements of the Portuguese education systems that's better than the UK and vice versa. It depends what you're looking at and what you want out of it. I also feel like it depends on the child, or like with any of these things. I think it's like trying to listen to your kids and make the right call for them as individuals. When I moved here, I want to say this right. And I think it's like, I feel like there was a culture, maybe from where we're from specifically, but it might be across UK, I don't know, where it was very much like we've had kids or we've been together a long time, and then the intimacy part of the relationship becomes like it's their problem, it's the guy's problem. Certainly with my eldest, it was like if his needs weren't met, and when he voiced them, it was just an irritant, because I'm just like, well, I don't want to make him sound like, I want to say,
No, I think it's he has needs. He can voice that to his wife.
yeah, yeah. And it wasn't like I was doing, I wasn't doing anything all day. Like having kids is hard and being with them all the time is hard. And also, I think for me, it was like everything had changed. I looked in the mirror, I didn't see the same person anymore. I had a completely different body. When I moved here and I met people from all around the world, it was very, very interesting to know that their views on marriage, I think it's a mindset thing, is that you could be a great mum, but be a terrible wife. You could be a great friend, but be a terrible wife. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to tick, or try and tick, for a good marriage, all the boxes. And you're not going to get it right all the time. And something's always going to be a miss, isn't there? But I think it's also important to change that mindset, because it's important that your relationship, for me, it was important to make my husband happy in lots of different ways that I really was just like, oh, he's just being annoying, or he's just being selfish, or he doesn't understand, and making it a battle of wills. And one of the things that was really cool was, like, I have a couple of friends from Brazil, not saying that it's always been perfect in their marriage too, but at the same time, like their mindset was very much like, we as women, especially once you've had kids, don't think about it a lot. So I guess the idea is to try and make yourself think about it. So how can you do that? And when I say think about it, I guess I mean being intimate with your other half or having sex. And like one of my friends reads like fantasy novels that have sex in it, and that gets her to think about it. And so if you can keep it on the mind, then you're likely to then react or act upon that weren't doing before, because it was all consuming with the kids. And I think moving here and hearing other cultures and how they think about it, and like their views on it, which was so different to my friendship group at home, and how I have been taught, I guess, by my family and by the people that were influencing me, was so different.
Yeah.
That it changed my whole mindset on it.
This is something, like this particular topic is really interesting because I don't have kids. So it's just Ollie and I. And this is something I'm absolutely terrified about happening to our relationship, because not that I'm like need sex or something. No, I'm not like that. Sex is a bit, like, it's true. Like sex is a big part of a relationship. It's a big part of you being intimate with your partner. Like that shouldn't be taboo. Like it's just a fact. Otherwise he could be my friend. If we're not having sex, he's just my mate.
Yeah.
Basically, especially obviously for men, but for women too, like that is part of it. And obviously I don't have kids, but it's something that scares me for that. I'm consciously going to hopefully make sure that I keep in mind, because I read something, I can't remember what it was, that you have your kids and then one day they're going to grow up, they say goodbye. And if you're a shell of a relationship by the end of it, then what a shame. Like you really should be putting your relationship before your children. It sounds ridiculous, but like it started with you two. You two are now a team. You're raising children. You get them to a point where they're self-sufficient and they're good human beings, and you've done your job, and then both of you can look at each other and say, I still love you and I'm still exactly where I was, hopefully, however long you've been together. Yeah. And yeah, like that's a big part of it. I would never want my husband to feel like he's unwanted because I had children.
I think as well, one of the things that one of my friends had said to me in one of the first meets we had was she was like, I'm just not prepared to have a below average relationship. Why would I waste my time with that? I want an above average relationship. And to get an above average relationship, you need to put the work in. And to do that, obviously people have different needs and people have different love languages and all of this stuff, if you believe in all of that. So it's important to really get to know your partner and find out what it is that they need from you, what you can actually do. There is always sometimes a compromise with those things. If your other half, it's not necessarily about having sex, but it is about doing something for them that shows them you thought about me, or I'm important, or, there's just a moment or an intimate moment that's between you that doesn't necessarily have to be a physical moment. It just changed my whole mindset. And I think a lot of that has been a really positive impact on our relationship. I think certainly for Mike, he isn't someone that will sit there and just accept to be left behind. That's not the kind of guy he is. He's very much like a self-aware, always trying to improve on everything he does.
It's so weird because Mike is so different to Ollie in that sense, because Ollie is someone that will not tell me. So if I just stopped having sex with him, he would never complain about it. He would never raise it. Like, I genuinely overcompensate. I'm the one that just overthinks everything. Everything has to be perfect. I have to get better. I have to get better. I have to get better. Ollie is someone that's just content with the now. And so it's actually been something in our relationship, because I'm like, I would love it if you just spontaneously decided to do something for me or buy me something. Ollie,
What's the point? Just stand up, mate. Just stand up. I think it's worse what you're doing. I genuinely think it's just worse.
Like,
Amazing.
Ollie, go away. I'm talking about you.
Why is he home on this episode?
Honestly, he's had his headphones on. So yeah, like that's something it's something that he still needs to work on, quite frankly. Like, he's doing better, but it's something that like highlighted it definitely more when I moved it, to be honest, because I was so in the same routine at home. I can't explain. Like, I had pretty boring life at home, so I wasn't expectant of anything. And then my life became like, it's like I see in color. My life became very vibrant, and I was doing things all the time, and pushing myself to become better, and this and that. And then that bit became really obvious to me, that like, you aren't trying, you're just stagnant. Like, that's not going to work.
I think that's the other thing as well. Like, and it's a really good point, is like, when, I guess, because you guys spent so much time together, you didn't necessarily see your friends that often. When you did see your friends, you weren't necessarily talking about, I'm sure you did talk about intimate things, but it was like you didn't necessarily go deep or talk about how your relationship was going or anything like that, because you guys have always been steadily doing, like it's just Julia and Ollie. It's like watching two grandparents, be in a relationship together. That's how you were in the UK. Not just so much now, but like, because when I moved here, and this is, I guess, another thing that was so different, is meeting people from all over the world. I found a group of friends that it's spoken about. It's normalizing, desensitizing, I guess, to this topic. I was really uptight. I don't think I've ever in England spoke about this topic with any of my friends. We just found that whole thing quite an uncomfortable topic to talk about. It was a bit shameful for me. I think it was just loads of clearly traumatic things in my head that were going around. Whereas like here, like I said, my Brazilian friends, American, like it's just spoken about. Honestly, I would absolutely advocate for a Brazilian friend at this point.
So then it became really obvious to me, because I'm a trier. Like, I will always try, and I love surprising him. I'm a gift giver.
Yeah, because maybe you were speaking about it with friends, or no, that wasn't why.
No, I wasn't speaking about it with friends. Not that I wouldn't, I totally would. I'm very open, but I wasn't speaking. It became obvious to me because I think we moved here, like I said, it was more vibrant lifestyle. I was doing more. We have more disposable income. So I like to use that, some of it, to spoil him, like make him feel loved through gifts. I hear him say that he needs something and I'll go out and buy it. Or like, I like to do that. And so, and we moved here and I wanted to, like, I don't know, buy him his first Celtics Letterman jacket. I wanted him to have things so that when he goes to the games, he can dress up and like get excited. And I just got excited about it. And I think it just made me realize I'm doing all of this. I'm making all this effort, which I've always done in my life, but maybe definitely
it made a real juxtaposition. It was really like, is that the right word? Like, just, I guess it showed the contrast of like,
and it's not because he just takes and he's like, he's really selfish. He's not selfish. He just doesn't think like that.
Yeah, it's a different.
And I can't blame him for that. at first I was getting angry. I care about you, so I want to do this for you. Why don't you want to do this for me? Why don't you want to plan like to date nights and stuff? Like, we have a bit more money, take me out and do stuff. And he wasn't. And a lot of my friends that I was meeting here, maybe this is why as well, because a lot of my friends were meeting here, was like, oh, like, da-da-da took me out on a date, like he took me here, he surprised me with
I
this.
think when you talk about things, it's then a compare. You don't want to compare, but you're like, I don't like that. I like
Yeah.
that. I'm not sure why it is that I can't have that.
I'm very much on what you said your friend is. I don't like to be in the average. Like, I like everything to be exceptional. The way I operate, the way I cook, everything has to be like, I have to get better at it. I have to work at it. And I think Ollie is someone that's just like, just content with how it is. He'll literally say to me, like, I'm happy with how it is. Like, and I'm like, no, we need to work on this. This isn't good enough. And he's like, I just love you the way you are. Because his mindset is that he's just like, we're okay. Like, she's happy, I'm happy. La 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 in Ollie's world. And I was reading it as, you aren't caring. You have stopped caring. You're coming to this relationship in a lazy way.
And so he has.
Yeah, he's definitely got better with it. So now he randomly gets me flowers. Like, he'll come in from work and he's got me flowers, or he'll randomly say that he wants to do. But the only thing I will say is, like, he's not very confident in his decision making. So, like, he will ask me, like, would you like to do this?
Can I defend him?
Yeah.
I can understand that with you.
Hmm.
Because I think if
I
he
don't
got it
understand.
wrong.
He has genuinely bought me stuff. Like, I have just said outright, like, I hate scarves. I will never wear a scarf. You'll never catch me wearing a scarf. And he bought me a scarf one year, and I thought, you don't know me. I think that's fair.
Like, you're actually offended because, like, duh. But he just didn't listen. Like, he's hearing, but he's not listening. Listening, but not hearing. Can't remember which way around it is.
Yeah. But honestly, like,
No, I actually relate to Ollie. You are Michael. I am Ollie. Like, the conversations that me and Mike have, I mean, even recently, as in like this week, is like, I just didn't think like that. You think like that. It's obvious to you. It's natural to you. It's how it is for you. I live in a different hemisphere. He's like, it doesn't mean I'm mean. It doesn't mean I'm horrible. It just is that you're just on different...
Just different people, and we have different...
Exactly. And you're coming at it from different ways. And I give bad presents, right? I gave him, I think there was one year, what present was it? It wasn't a great present, but it was okay. I think it was something off Amazon or something. I didn't know what to get him. He's really hard to buy for. But then it got to my 30th. And like I said to you before, he got me a piece of paper with pictures of our holidays we couldn't afford because he'd just come out of rehab. And I was like, yeah, that's like a 10 grand holiday. I then don't go and say things like, you're terrible at gift giving, because that's a really shit 30th gift to anyone's standard. But this is what you could have, but we can't afford it. So I'm sorry, you're actually just getting a bit of A4 paper with a couple of pictures on it. And like, so then it makes me feel like, I'm just going to, what do you want? I'll just get that then. Like, I'm not confident with now getting gifts, because I am like, I don't want to upset you. I want you to feel like I know what it is that you want and need, but I find it difficult to get it right. It's really hard to then feel confident when someone's crushed a couple of things that you've done and you're like, oh, I thought you would have liked that. Okay, now I'm the worst gift giver. Making it sound really horrible. Well, he's not, but he,
I think it's relatable. Like, not everyone is always on their like a perfect person. I'm glorifying myself that I'm spoiling with gifts and I'm so thoughtful and I love it. But on the other hand, like, I can be tough, like, to deal with. I'm quite particular. It's not, sometimes he probably feels in a space where he can't win, and that's a horrible space to be in. And I put him there.
Maybe he feels like, because you are the way that you are, he may do it differently, but it in your mind will never be as good as him, as good as what you could do.
But he's just not wired that way. He's a very logical thinker. I'm a very emotionally intelligent. I'm an out of the box thinker when it comes to like really caring deeply for someone and really going in on their presence. Whereas he's just logical. He's like, I think she, like, for example, I think she needs a scarf because it's cold and, and I'm going to buy her a scarf. I've never worn a scarf a day in my life. I hate scarves. I feel like I'm being strangled. I wanted to strangle him that day, quite frankly. He's just not, but I have this expectation that he, you can get better at it, Ollie. There's such things as, Google. There's such things as ChatGPT now. Ask ChatGPT, like, what's a great thing that you could plan for me? You spend enough time when they're asking him about golf swings. So like I said, he's got better with it. Like, I've got no complaints.
Yeah, like, I mean, every relationship needs work, doesn't it? Like, you come with your own baggage from the past as well, and you're two people that come with baggage, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, like whatever it might be, and then it's like having to merge them. I think there definitely is like a highlight when you move abroad of that, because you are very reliant on each other. You have to make sure that everything you're doing is aligned, regardless of whether you have kids or not. It's about just aligning it. Like, what would have happened? Are you strong enough in your marriage if he decided to come to you and say, I can't do this, I'm done, I want to go back to England? How does that look? Like, you have to be prepared to be like, okay, so what's that then? Is the outcome of that? Because you really want to be there. He doesn't anymore. Like,
Yeah, that would be tough. Like I'd be sacrificing my happiness for his happiness. It's a sacrifice. Relationships are sacrifices, aren't they? Like, I know I want to be with him, so wherever he is, I want to be. And if that's not here anymore, then I would support him in that. I would support him in that decision, even though it would like break my heart. I would do it for him.
Yeah. I know people who have moved here. I've met them here. They came over and they wanted different things and it didn't work. And I mean, a couple of people have broken up. There's kids involved, you know what I mean? And now they're both out here with no family. They've just got here and they've got kids, and it's hard. And it's so important when you do decide to move with your other half that you have that foundation of, I may well love it, but I won't love it if you're not in it. So we have to we have to be honest with each other, communicate with the fact that, yeah, you want to go back. How's that going to look? Or you want to go somewhere else. How's that going to look like? And what is it that we would do as a couple? It might be a difficult decision. One of you will always feel possibly that unless you come to it together, that you sacrificed something. But I think even when you move abroad, you feel like you sacrifice something. Like, I do feel like I sacrificed being in and around my nieces, my nephews, and my sisters and my family. That's a sacrifice for me because I was so close. I'm so close with them. So that was a big step. It was a sacrifice. He'd moved out of Copenhagen when he was 16, 17 years old.
So complex, isn't it? Like everyone's family dynamics and them coming from a different place than you, a different upbringing, what their parents' relationships look like. Are they trying to emulate what that looks like? There's so much nuances to relationships. There's such interesting things. A husband and a wife is the only relationship that's really trying to be together forever. Friendships aren't necessarily, you don't have that tie. And so you have this like, I don't find it a pressure at all. I feel like a relationship will have peaks and it will have troughs or whatever they call it. Peaks and it's good and bad days. There's never been anything where I felt really worried that we'd ever break up. But there's definitely been strains on it. I think one of the things that I'm really happy about moving here about is just getting away from people that we knew in the UK that I didn't ever like bump into.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to contend with exes anymore. I don't have to worry that like, and I'm not worried about him. So like long gone, but like, I just feel like it's nice now to just be like, there's no ties to anybody here. He's just a new person. We're not going to bump into anyone. And same as me, like I would see people in the gym at school that I didn't get along with at school. It was uncomfortable. You'd bump into people that you don't want to see anymore, and I just feel like it just kind of sets you free from any of those.
Yeah, I guess as well, like everybody there and everybody here in Portugal met us as a couple, never as an individual single person. They don't know that side of us. So it's like, to my friends here, I come with Mike, like we are a unit. And
I know what you mean. Like everyone here knows us as Juliet and Ollie. Obviously, I'm an individual away from Ollie, but they don't know single Juliet and they don't know single Ollie.
A lot of our friends are couples themselves. So that's quite nice because, and we're quite lucky as well because some of the couples that we have met, I like the wife just as much as he likes the husband. So it doesn't feel like, oh, we're going to see them again. And, I'm just there and you're friendly. That doesn't feel like that. It feels like we both have our own relationships with the individuals themselves. In terms of our marriage, I think that's made us a bit stronger. It isn't like these people are just my friends and he's been dragged along. Whereas in England, especially because he'd moved from Denmark to England, these were my friends, most of our friends. And a lot of the time with the friends that I had in England, we'd go out as girls. We'd do girls' nights. I wasn't married Abby. I was still just Abby from before.
Yeah.
you know, so I think that's a bit different, I guess. The last thing on here is handling arguments without family support nearby.
For me, I've spoken about it before, but Ollie and I's relationship's very, like, we're very private about our arguments. To be honest, we rarely row or argue. It's normally just bickering, and we normally laugh about it an hour later. We're normally like, I'm still like a little bit annoyed, but then we just watch a film and, you know, it's over and we laugh about it. I've not really ever had like something, a really, really serious. I didn't rely, that's where I was going to go. I didn't rely on, I never ever spoke to my sisters or my mum
Yeah.
about our arguments ever. I've never ever, like, he doesn't like that. He doesn't feel comfortable about telling people about our ins and outs of relationship. It's for us to deal with. And I completely agree with that. I don't want to tell everyone. Like, I don't need to. The only times like I have done it is maybe if someone's staying here with us at the time, like if they come over and they're staying here with us and we've had like a bicker, maybe then I'll rant about it. If I'm in the moment and I'm just like I'll do it then. I would never outreach to someone to tell them about an argument that Ollie and I had in a relationship. I just feel like that's not
No,
genuine.
I don't feel like family members were necessarily holding us up with our marriages, either of us, even though I was more extrovert and did speak about stuff. It wasn't really necessarily, in the end, certainly with my fam. It was probably friends, more specific friends I
Yeah.
had in mind. So I think that had more of an impact. But again, like, I have no issue, and I think maybe, like, we're lucky we live in an era where FaceTime is an easy thing to do. So you do feel like, you know, I could just pick up the phone and it feels like you're having a chat and you've seen them.
It feels like a new chapter in our relationship. Like that one our British one closed.
Yeah.
It's still there. Like I still have the memories, but it doesn't feel like a new relationship, but it feels like a reborn relationship that we have now, which is good for someone. Like, we've been with Ollie for 12 years. I need to rebirth the relationship.
Yeah.
I've been with him since I was 17 years old. And so we do need to have different chapters of our relationship. Otherwise it's going to get boring as hell.
Yeah, and I definitely would back that as well. I think it is with any move like that you do together, you have these experiences together that automatically bonds you more. And you're going through these things together. I think relationships and marriages can become so mundane. You get so stuck in the daily routines of stuff that it's very difficult sometimes to get out of ruts that you find yourself in, because that's just how you guys function and what you do and the routines that you have. So I definitely feel like with moving abroad, you revitalize that because you're both trying to find it and you're both leaning on each other a bit and you're both having to like work on how your relationship looks in this place here now that we've moved to and what we're doing and stuff.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
you're excited. Well, I was excited. I was really excited for us to experience new things together, what trips we're going to plan. Like, we just had so much to explore and do and see, and for the first time with each other, that it becomes exciting again. It gives it a new lease of life. As a whole, I think that moving has been very beneficial for our relationship. It would have always been okay in the UK. I didn't see it breaking up in the UK or anything like that. I think we would have been fine. But we always say, Ollie and I, we would have probably had 2 kids by now. If we were still living in the UK, yeah, we probably have kids by now, for
I think
sure.
that's it. I think you just get caught in the rat race. You just get caught in the, well, I guess the next thing to do is, because me and Mike always say, and this is going to sound awful, I love my children, but there's part of us that wishes that we'd waited longer. I was 25 when I had my oldest son, and 29 when I had my twins. We had not that much time, just us. So I think there's definitely experiences we would have loved to have done, traveling and stuff that we would have loved to have done together, which is why also moving abroad was a nice thing for us to do as a couple, because it felt like we had a taster of what that might have looked like. But obviously bringing our kids along, which adds loads of really, really positive things as well too.
Well, we need you to like and subscribe and comment. Otherwise, we're not coming back.
We are available. Please get in touch and talk to us. I was tired today. Did you notice how many times during that episode I yawned? Did you notice?
I actually didn't, to be fair. I actually think you're quite on form.